If you've been playing the Digimon card game for a while, you'll know how expensive and cheap the game has been, and you might notice how the prices are starting to creep up. One of the first reasons people use to explain this, and you'll see this often, is allocation and printing capacity. Now, I can't verify the printing capacity part, but I, and probably you, can talk about allocation. All of this is without even mentioning the number of delays that the game has had in its lifetime. British delays of BT16. I think it's safe to say that we've all felt the lack in product. Now, I'm fortunate enough to live in a place that supports the game pretty well, the DC metro region, and I've never really struggled to acquire product on time for first $75, then $80, then $85, then $90, then $95, and now $100 whole dollars. And I think that one of the consequences of this is that the price of not just secret rares, but also super rares has gone up. Now, I don't know about you, but I've kind of been trying to sell my friends on this game by telling them how cheap it is, but as we've seen with the latest set, EX6 Infernal Ascension, that might not hold so true anymore. I think that this is what the EX sets will feel like from now on. Why, you may ask? Well, it's simple. They changed the ratios. Oh, but Rohan, they changed the ratios back in BT14. And that would be true, because we did have EX5 with the same ratios as EX6, and BT14 with the same ratios as BT16. But 1, the decks weren't as competitive, and listen, I love Leomon in all his Bancho glory, but meta he was not, and 2, the secrets were worse. Not bad, but worse. Now, yes, the secrets share the same role, as in they're both key pieces / boss monsters of an archetype in the set, but I would argue that the decks in EX6 are more hyped up and have a bigger following. And I know that people were hyped for some Dawn Dusk representation, but at the time, the deck wasn't doing so hot. And Devas arguably got worse after the Apocalypse-induced Gururu engine ban. That's not to say that Mastemon is that much better of a deck, but we all know that it's a fan favorite. Which leads us to our third reason that could be argued caused reasons 1 and 2, the ban list we knew was coming. That's right, who knew that having 2 secret rares being affected by a ban list would be bad for sales? And this leads us to our current predicament, the new ratios. For the longest time, we've gotten 7 super rares per box, except for the Catastrophe that was BT11 where we got 6. And that's still the case, we still get 7 per box. What they changed is how many super rares there were per set. Starting in BT14, we ended up having a total of 12 SRs per set instead of the usual 10. They also reduced the total number of cards per set from about 112 to 102, making it so that the SRs are a bigger portion of the cards in a set. This meant that the SRs went from 9% of the card pool to 12% of the card pool. Now that does mean that there's something a little neat that they can do where they can give each color 2 SRs if there are no white SRs, but what that also obviously means is that you're getting a smaller portion of SRs per box. So it used to be that the expected value to open a playset of each SR, i.e. if everyone opened that many boxes, 50% of people would have a playset of SRs. Carry the 1... 8.7 boxes. And now, it's 11.3 boxes. Brother, that's a massive increase. And if you round it, since you can't buy 0.3 boxes, it's actually gone up from 9 to 12. Now, I understand that these probabilities could be skewed due to case ratios potentially being a thing, but let's ignore that for now. This is an 83% practical increase in rarity for super rares. I'm surprised that I personally didn't hear more people getting annoyed at that when it first came out, but, I mean, people are annoyed now, so... It's also worth noting that alt arts change the number of playsets you get, and my calculations don't factor that in. But it doesn't change my conclusions, and now we can see BT14 SR prices keeping value for longer than older sets, with the notable exception being BT12, whose SRs were honestly just straight up bangers, so... Now let's get back to EX sets. EX4 had 74 cards, out of which 10 were SRs, with 6 of them in each box. Doing the same math, you end up with 11 boxes being enough for everyone to own a playset of every SR, which makes sense, since it's supposed to be a smaller set than the main sets. But now, they've made the ratios of SRs the same as BT sets. And to be specific, That means 7 SRs per box with 12 in total. That's a 20% increase in SR totals, with a comparable but lesser increase in hits at 17%. This is causing a noticeable increase in price, because practically, this now means we have to buy a case of EX sets for a playset of every SR in that set. Pair this with the decrease in supply that we've witnessed, and you end up with $20+ SRs. So Bandai decreased the ratios and decreased supply at basically the same time. And we're only just feeling it now because the previous releases of these ratios had those pre-announced ban lists. Which leads us to what to do about it. I don't know. I'm neither a game designer nor an economics man, so all I can really hope for and want is a little bit more generous ratios in EX sets. Something like the previous ratios. I don't want fewer SRs in the EX sets, I just want similar ratios. Basically, the landscape has shifted a lot, and it's tangible. We're seeing higher card prices and increased rarity, which makes it harder for both collectors and players. I hope this increase also shows the demand there is for the game. Since BT9, I've heard a lot of doom and gloom about the game, and I'm sure you have too, but honestly the game seems to be doing a lot better than a year ago. And prices wouldn't be reaching this high if people weren't buying into it. But at the same time, I really hope that this isn't pricing people out of the game. Well, here's hoping that future sets can strike a better balance between availability and rarity. But that's all I have to say, so thanks for watching. Peace!